Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. I am here this week with a published author, Mr. Ryan Nelson, a guy you can find his book on Amazon, The Fiscal Physical, 7 Keys to Becoming Financially Fit. Highly recommend that being read. He is also the founder of the successful Alchemy Wealth Management here in Reno, Nevada. And Ryan, with that introduction, I'm going to ask you, how are things, my man? How's the life going?
Things are good. Things are good on my end. How are things on your end?
Not too bad. Cannot complain at all on my end here. So we're here to bring you guys another episode here on the Fiscal Physical Podcast. We're into the hundreds somewhere. So if you've stuck with us the whole time, thank you so much. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. I'm excited to help guide you guys on your fiscal physical journey here. So Ryan, let's dive in. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So this episode is going to revolve around how to be financially prepared if a layoff happens, or be prepared before a layoff happens. And it's one of those things I think we've mentioned on this podcast before that I got to stop watching the news. But I do find it entertaining, and I kind of feel like I'm up to date on certain things. But a lot of the things you see these days or have seen is company X is laying off X number of employees. Like, and it saddens me to hear somebody's losing their job involuntarily. It's an incredibly stressful time. Don't wish it upon anybody else. But it's great to be prepared. Mm-hmm. Today, we're going to talk about how a person can financially prepare for a layoff. It's like one of those subjects. I remember one of our early podcast episodes, we talked about the lifeboats on on a big ship or something like that. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, you never have to use those lifeboats, but might not be a bad idea to understand how they work and what kind of goes into it. So, I'm hoping today we can kind of give that advice of how to financially prepare for hopefully something that doesn't come, but it's good to be in the know if it does. So you think that's something you can do for us here, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right.
Like you said, layoffs can be extremely stressful, but if you're prepared, I suppose it'd be a little less stressful, right? Mm-hmm. There's a famous quote, and I just like on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember it, but there's a quote about like the best time to prepare for something is before you need it, or like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No. Okay. But it's not the one about the best time to plant a tree, is it?
No,
okay.
no.
Because we've dropped that one a few times.
I do like that one,
yeah, that is a good quote too. Yeah.
Yeah, but so anyways, it's like, there's some famous quote out there. Somebody will know it, but the best time to prepare is before you if you're going to prepare for an emergency, the best time to do that is before the emergency. Sure. If you're going to prepare for a layoff, you want to be doing that when there's no sight of a layoff. And
sure.
So again, that's what can make these things a little tricky. Is usually we just go through our everyday life and we're not getting laid off. And so we're not usually preparing to be laid off. And oftentimes we're blindsided by these things. I'd say the time to prepare would be now. So we could use that tree quote now. The best time to plant a tree is...
Let's plant some trees.
Best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. Second best time is today, right? Yeah. So if we're not currently prepared, let's prepare now. You can kind of think of this as like a financial fire drill. So you want to go through a few steps, make sure you're sort of ready in case something does happen. So first, let's just run through this. First step, we'll say know your monthly quote unquote survival number. So, how much money do you need per month to maintain maybe not your current lifestyle, but like your necessities, right? So how much do you need for your house? How much do you need for food, right? Maybe not including in this month, how much do I usually spend to go to the movies, right?
Sure.
So this would be like your base time, what we're calling your quote unquote survival number. So how much money do you need to not maintain your current lifestyle, but to maintain a lifestyle? Mm-hmm. Right. Does it make sense there? Yep. So it'd be separating out kind of your needs versus your wants. And then once you can identify that first step of how much do I really need, then what you can do is go to step 2 and start building your emergency fund. So making sure, we've talked about emergency funds in plenty of these past episodes. But making sure you have something between the general consensus is 3 to 6 months of those needs. So if you run through your expenses and you say, man, I need $5,000, not for my current lifestyle, but to cover all of my bills I've committed myself to already, right? And,
Sure.
So I need $5,000 a month. You're going to want somewhere in there between $15,000 and $30,000 in your emergency fund. Now, if you were to get laid off, if we were to translate this math, that tells us that you could survive on this for 3 to 6 months.
Sure.
So now, yeah, it's still stressful to get laid off, but knowing that you have a 3 to 6 month kind of runway to go find another job, that starts to make things a whole heck of a lot less stressful. You're not worried about making your mortgage payment next month. You're not worried about making your car payment. You're not worried about losing your car. You're not worried about how are you going to afford groceries. This emergency savings does a lot of heavy lifting in this whole equation, and it in itself can reduce a tremendous amount of stress.
Yep. Good
Make
point.
sense there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Think about just having that emergency fund, just the peace of mind too. It's like you mentioned, this is a very stressful time. Like I don't have much hair on the top of my head, but I might lose the rest that I have if I'm super stressed like that too. So I tend to, I'm able to, well, some people think more clearly when they're stressed. I don't know, there's some science behind that. But for me, I'm like, if I'm calm and can approach something where I'm like, cool, I don't have to worry about this specifically, like I need a job tomorrow. It can also kind of help in that job search for the next one too. Like you can be more selective and such too. And that emergency fund really does kind of take a little bit of that weight off your shoulders, if you will.
Great point. In that emergency fund, just as a quick aside, again, I know we've talked about it in past episodes, but that should be boring, liquid savings, like in your money market or cash in your bank, your checking or savings account. This isn't $30,000 we have set aside in investments. This is $30,000 of just boring money in an in your savings account that who cares what the interest rate is. The purpose of this $15,000 to $30,000 is not to go get you a ton of returns. It's to sit there in that account and be ready for if something happens, like you get laid off, right? So just be aware of that. Its purpose has nothing to do with market returns. Don't really honestly stress about what the interest rate you're getting on that is. Its purpose is to be liquid and available. Your investments have a completely different purpose. Right. You want to make sure those are optimized from a return standpoint, all that fun stuff. But cool. So then step number 3, if you did get laid off, it would be to reduce your fixed. So this would still be in preparation. So as you're going through, your expenses today, and sort of in step 1, we talked about like identify what your survival number is, right? Step number 3 would be what kind of things could we do to reduce that survival number? So do we have a subscription to Netflix that we only use once a month and it's actually kind of in hindsight a waste of money and we could cancel? If I'm looking to buy a new car, well, I'm going to combine these next 2 things. The next thing would be aware of new debts. So, definitely. If I'm going to go buy a new car, am I committing myself to $1,000 a month car payment? If so, that makes my survival number higher, makes everything a little trickier. Now it makes getting laid off a lot scarier. If I'm instead buying we talked in one of the previous episodes about like buying the BMW can be like an ego purchase. If instead of maybe buying that car we can't truly afford but want, we go buy the less sexy car that's used and we can buy in cash, well, guess what? Now we don't have a monthly payment. That keeps our survival number lower. We get laid off. Whole heck of a lot less stress knowing, hey, I just own my car outright, as opposed to, gosh, how am I going to continue to make $1,000 car payments, right? So it would take a look at your fixed expenses, evaluate them, see if there's any you can kind of reduce or cancel if it's a subscription, right? See how you can sort of clean up your fixed expenses, and then be careful with that new debt. So be wary of, moving into the new house that's going to double your mortgage, or buying the new car that's going to create a new large car payment, or, doing the new addition to the house that's going to create a HELOC or something like that.
Yep. Makes sense.
And then another step would be understand your benefits. So understand your benefits before you get laid off, right? So health insurance is typically a big one. Usually you'll have your health insurance through your employer. If you get laid off through your employer, what are you going to have an option for? So oftentimes you'll have COBRA maybe available to you, or maybe you can get on your spouse's plan. So this would be one of those things where if you're evaluating this, if you're doing this evaluation before you get laid off, now you get laid off, you can just say, okay, I'm just going to get on my spouse's plan, right? Like, again, you're doing this analysis sort of at a time where you're not stressed, so that when you do get laid off, you say, okay, I have my emergency savings. I know I can cover my expenses for the next 3 months. I already have a plan. I'm going to get on my spouse's insurance. Like, you can start to imagine, like, now you're just executing the plan.
Right.
Actually, as we talk about it, doesn't sound that stressful. Okay, I have 3 months to go find a new job. I know what I'm doing with my insurance. I was cautious of committing to any new debt payments. Like, you can start to see, like, oh yeah, this maybe isn't as stressful, right? You already have kind of a plan built out. So just understanding your benefits, knowing what you'll do with them, reviewing like life insurance and disability insurance if they're tied to your employer. A lot of times, like, life insurance is what we call non-portable. So if you end your employment with your employer, oftentimes the life insurance coverage will end. Sometimes that coverage is portable. So you just want to check this stuff out kind of, again, before you need it. Another one sort of in line with benefits would be know your 401k options. So usually you're going to have 4 options with your 401k. You can cash it out, pay penalties and fees. That's probably going to be something we want to avoid, right? We can oftentimes leave it where it's at, move it to a new employer plan once we do land with a new employer, or move it to an IRA. So just check your options with your current 401k. You can have a plan of attack already. Know, hey, when I leave this employer, whether it's on my own terms or their terms, I already know what I'm doing with my 401k. It's just one more of those things where you get laid off, one less stress point. I know what I'm doing with my retirement funds. I know what I'm doing for insurance. I have my emergency savings built up. I have 3 months to find a job. You can start to see, again, how like you can reduce so much of the stress.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then one other thing I'd say is I see severance. So oftentimes you might get a small severance package, or large. Some people get large severance packages. Sometimes I see somebody will receive a severance package and treat it like a vacation. And then what they do is they just kick the stress can down the road. So they say maybe they get paid out, like, I don't know, let's just say 2 months of severance. So then they say, well, kind of like, I deserve this. This is terrible. I'm going to treat myself. And maybe they go just kind of hang out for 6 weeks with really low stress, right? And then all of a sudden they start, they eat up 6 of those 8 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I got to find a new job. I really kind of haven't done some of these other steps. Like, now the panic kind of kicks in, right? So I would say, obviously that's probably not ideal. If you really do treat like your severance as more like a bridge than a bonus, it can help that transition into the new job. So I would just say, kind of think of it as maybe potentially extending that runway. But really, if you've taken all these steps on the front end, you could almost think of it just as like replenishing your emergency savings and almost a supplemental emergency savings. If appropriate and eligible, you can explore unemployment benefits. There's no shame in using a system that's designed for this exact reason, right?
You probably paid into it as well,
exactly.
too. Like, it's,
So, I mean, if you are eligible and it's appropriate for your situation, I'd say explore unemployment benefits, and it can help bridge that gap as well. And then kind of move into, like, the last thing would be, like, then as this actually happens, like, move into like a defense mode. So now you're kind of putting into practice the plan that we've created. So you now know what expenses are necessary, what expenses are discretionary. You know what you want to do with your health insurance. You know what you want to do with your 401k, etc. So now if something were to happen to you, you can sort of implement this plan, so to speak. You can pause unnecessary spending. Maybe you're not going out to sushi. You're eating it. You're getting your food from the grocery store for a month. You're canceling the Netflix subscription. You're taking those small actions. You're not going to the movie theater. You're not getting your coffees out at Starbucks. So you just put a few small tweaks into place, and to get to that quote unquote survival number that we talked about in the beginning, your emergency savings in place. You just start executing. You just kind of start executing the plan that we've laid out. So I'd say overall, I mean, I think that just following those steps will reduce just a tremendous amount of stress. Talking about this with your partner ahead of time is probably valuable, making sure you're on the same page. Like maybe you say, yeah, we could cut out Netflix, and your partner says, heck no, we can't. Yeah. Or, you say, we could stop going to Starbucks, and your partner says, no,
Right, yeah.
Or your partner says, hey, we could cut out the gym, and you're like, no, that's a necessity, right? Like, so having some agreement on sort of what your sort of necessary expenses are versus your discretionary and stuff on the front end would be useful and reduce a stress on the back end as well. But I think in all, like when it's all said and done, the most important thing is probably having that emergency savings, but taking all these steps into account. And you could build this plan in like an hour.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like we're asking you to do a tremendous amount of stuff, but if you were to take almost like a couple hours once a year, just kind of review your plan, make sure, okay, if anything were to happen to me, what do I got going on? Okay, perfect. Then if something were to happen now, again, it feels like you're just executing a plan as opposed to exploring a new world.
Nope, definitely. I think that's like we come back to like the lifeboat aspect of it. It's like, hey, hope you never use it, hope you never need it, but you should probably pay attention like during the muster drill. I think it's what they call it, like about like, hey, like where are those like lifeboats located at? How do we use them? Okay, awesome. If that does come into fruition, like let's make sure we're and like to mention, like I'm so much better just in general, and I think most people are about like, okay, cool, like this is the situation, perfect. Let me look at the manual on what we're doing for this because we've already planned for this exact or a similar situation to this, and being prepared, I think, is never a bad thing in these certain cases. So
agreed.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, that was great, man. I appreciate it. And once again, everybody's situation's different. Your age, your financial situation, all these different areas. So definitely, hopefully, we challenge the listeners to take a peek at their specific situation, see where you sit, and then kind of go from there in terms of how to best prepare for these situations, and hopefully never come. We'll see. But awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and take a pause here, Ryan, and we'll be back on the other side of this with some personal stuff. Everybody hang tight.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging tight with us through that awesome transition you guys just listened to. Hope everybody's having a great day still. Still here with Mr. Ryan Nelson on the personal side of the Physical podcast. And Ryan, I have one of I've been told it's one of the most polarizing questions ever asked. I don't know if we've ever talked about it before, but we'll go ahead and dive in here. Listeners, hopefully you're on the edge of your seats there. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you a minute to marinate on that.
My gut reaction is no, but I can understand.
Really?
I can understand the argument for meat between a piece of bread.
Yeah.
But I don't consider a hamburger a sandwich either.
Really?
No, you do?
Oh. I feel like I consider a hamburger a sandwich more than I consider a hot dog a sandwich, if that kind of makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. But
if there was a sandwich spectrum, I would put sandwich on one end and a hot dog on the other and hamburger in the middle. Yeah.
What would you consider like a sandwich then? Like what's a sandwich to you?
It's got to have two slices of bread.
2 slices of bread. Okay, the bread is like the factor on it.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what if I just slice the bun in half? It still doesn't count.
It's still not bread.
It's a bun.
It's a bun. Yeah.
You're right. You're very true. Yeah.
I definitely get the sandwich argument, but yeah, for me, it's not a sandwich. If for you, it is a sandwich.
I think so. I think it's like an open-faced sandwich is like kind of how I would, I guess.
But I wouldn't call an open-faced sandwich a sandwich.
Probably not. Like I feel like this is one of those questions that like everybody's like, well, maybe you've never thought about it, hopefully not. Like, but you're like, what exactly is this? And you kind of start diving into like all these different things that we like consider one thing but don't consider another thing. Right. So it's kind of like an impossible question, if you will. But the hamburger one, I'm like, I would have thought more of like, I guess you could make like the other night, like we made hamburgers, but I didn't have any buns, so I just used like pieces of bread, and then I was like, is this a sandwich now?
That sounds like a sandwich.
Yeah,
that sounds like a sandwich to me.
Yeah.
But I've done that too. If you don't have buns and you make it, you use 2 pieces of bread, and I feel like while you're eating that, you're like, this just isn't the same.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not the same. And it's like, that's the point. The bread is different than a bun.
That's so true.
Same,
yes.
or if you've ever used bread for like in placement of a hot dog bun, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, this is just not the same.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
you
like,
roll it up and you're like, okay. That's a good point. You've turned me around on this here. Yeah.
I feel like, it's one of those things where like my gut tells me, it's not a sandwich. But if I don't know what the technical definition of a sandwich, but I can certainly understand how if you we're looking at the technical definition of a sandwich, how you could probably start to convince yourself that it is a sandwich.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So hopefully the listeners kind of check that out and let us know like what you guys think. I'm sure there's many, I know there's many varying opinions out there about what actually constitutes a sandwich and if a hot dog falls into that. So, but let us know. Let us know how you land on the subject, if you will. So I'm very curious.
This is what Google, this must be Gemini. Gemini says a sandwich is defined as 2 or more slices of bread.
Oh, or more? Oh, interesting.
Or a split roll having a filling such as a meat, cheese, or salad between them. It's portable, often horizontal food item, sometimes encompassing varied definitions that include hot dogs or burritos in specific legal and regional contexts.
Legal context. That'd be hilarious. I wonder if some places like, hey, we're a sandwich shop. Like, no, you guys just serve hot dogs. Yeah.
That's interesting, though. The burrito, I feel like you hear that debate about if it's a hot dog a sandwich, but I've never heard the debate if a burrito is a sandwich. But now you know it's a slippery slope.
Holy smokes!
Is it just like fillings surrounded by a carb? If so, I think a burrito has to be.
Or if you like stack like 2 slices of pizza on top of each other, like
sure,
like is that now a sandwich? Like I don't
sounds
know.
like a pretty darn good sandwich.
I wouldn't mind that at all. But awesome, Ryan. Well, appreciate you humoring me as always with these questions, and I would love to hear from the listeners on hot dogs, sandwiches, whatever it might be. Let us know. I'm sure this question for sure will blow up our ratings without a doubt. If I have any idea of how ratings work, so which I don't. So thank you so much, Ryan. Appreciate it, man. And we'll go ahead and let you play us out.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your Fiscal Physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.